Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the Amazon FBA and Ecom podcast.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about building, scaling your Amazon FBA business. And it's going to be, a return guest, my buddy, Colin Campbell, and incredible serial entrepreneur. I'll let him get into that. But anyway, I want to just give a quick thank you to our sponsor, Global Wired Advisors, a leading digital investment bank focused on optimizing the business sale process. For more information, contact Chris and his team over at globalwiredadvisors.com. Kelsey, where are you?
Hello. Happy Wednesday.
Happy
Hump
Wednesday.
Day, everyone. Yes, it's good to see everyone. So if you haven't yet, please smash those like buttons, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, all that good stuff. Also, join our Facebook group, Lunch with Norm, Amazon FBA, and eCommerce Collective. And if you're looking for more highlights or full episodes, you can go over to our YouTube page, Norman Farrar. And if you're looking for even more content with us, bonus content, guest lessons, AMAs, discussions with me and Norm, you can go over to our membership area on our website, lunchwithnorm.com. All the links will be in the comment section. But we can just jump into it. If you guys have questions, put them on over in the comment sections. And we do have a giveaway today. So it's for one of the mugs. So we're pretty excited. And if you do have a mug, be sure to tag us on Instagram or Facebook, wherever you post, and we'll put it up on our social media.
Hey, Kels, not only do we have a giveaway, we've got some incredible tickets. If you're going to prosper, Melissa Simonson over at Empowery is giving us 5 free tickets. You'll save hundreds of dollars if you want to go to the Women's Empowery e-commerce summit over at our conference. It's right after Prosper. So we've got some free tickets to give away. We got 5 today. If you're interested, just email Kelsey at k@lunchwithnorm.com. All right, so sit back, grab a coffee, and let's get into it. Colin's cracking the whip. He's saying, get going.
Hey, Norm. Nice to see you again.
It's good to see you, sir.
I'm calling in live from my Buffalo Westin Hotel studios, waiting to get across the border in Canada. We're actually moving up to Canada today. So for the summer, escaping the heat.
Oh, I think he's frozen a little bit. So
am I frozen, or is it the?
No, I think Norm is frozen.
All right, Kelsey, escaping the heat. But I have to say, I'm excited. I'm really excited about talking about scaling businesses, scaling brands. I've had the opportunity to start 5, 6, 7 companies over the last 20 years. I've done B2C, I've done B2B. And over that time, I've learned that there's a lot of patterns that occur between each company and a lot of similar things. And when you begin to figure out the formula of what it takes to start, scale, exit, and repeat the process over and over and over again, then you can begin to understand how to do it again, and you can share that with others. So that's what hopefully we're going to talk about today. I don't know if we're still recording or not, we're just going to let.
We're still recording. I'll take over. I've done this before, so
perfect.
Yeah,
perfect. He's retired. Norm is retiring. Everyone.
Yeah, it's Lunch with Kelsey. Everyone. Okay, so first, I don't know. Do you want to jump into some of those cycles now and the trends that you're seeing, or?
Yeah. No, I think that it's interesting. I know this show's all about e-commerce, and right now in my incubator, I've invested in 2 e-commerce companies. One of them is paw.com, which is a dog-based or pet-based e-commerce site, and it's grown quite large over the last few years. This year will come in close to $50 million in sales. And then the other one is a company called Meowingtons, which is actually more well-known. It has a larger community. It has over 1 million Facebook followers, and that one is dedicated to cats only. So as we began to launch these companies, and I'll just put it out there, I was not the CEO or founder of these companies. I was the investor who put money in these companies. And I've worked alongside the founders of these companies to help them grow the companies to become what they've become today. And there are a lot of things that we learned in the process. And maybe I could just share a few of those things with you right now.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Even from the very beginning, the logo itself, when we picked the logo for paw.com, we spent a lot of time thinking about the logo and how it would present on websites, on boxes, and in distribution, on flyers, in press releases. And the paw.com logo, what we decided was to make it very simple. But because we had a killer domain name with paw.com, we decided to include .com in the logo. Now, it's interesting. On another company that I'm involved with, it's a company called .club. We just sold that company to GoDaddy Registry. It was just announced a couple of months ago. But I remember the process of creating a logo for that company. And I want to tell you what we did wrong and what we did right. With respect to that company, we did a logo and we got too clever in our logo. We started to put like a door on the side, and we made the doorknob a dot, and then we did CLUB. And when you looked at it from distance, it looked just a little bit cluttered and confusing. Yep. In order for .club to really stand out on GoDaddy's website or on all the other distributors globally, we need to come up with a very simple logo. And so the one suggestion I would come up with respect to logos with paw.com or with even .club or any logo you're considering setting up is try to make it simple and think of the application that it's going to be used to support your business. Of course, you want the logo to reflect your business, but sometimes too many people put too much into the logo and reduce the simplicity from it. And that was just the first thing that came to mind when we talk about scaling brands, is make certain you got the right logos.
All right. So I don't know what happened. I just cut out. I hear you talking about logos.
We don't need you.
I know. It's just
we've got this covered.
It's lunch with ... All right.
With Kelsey.
You were talking about logos, and I just caught the tail end of it, but you're so right. Some people decide that since there's so many effects out there for logos, so many different fonts, they really mix it up. Spacing, all sorts of different spacing. I think it's very important that you go to a graphic artist that knows about graphic design, logo design, corporate identity. You might have said something completely different. I didn't hear anything.
No, I think that lines up with what we're talking about. We're talking about, I think sometimes the graphic designers can mess things up. They make things too complicated. And what I was talking about is really making it simple and sharing the experience of .club and having it, very, simple and easy to see, and understanding the application of where you put the logos as well. So I think we killed the logo topic.
Yep.
That's pretty cool with respect to creating
You're
a
cracking
brand.
the whip again on me. One thing I want to talk about, because this is incredible. Like, people talk about how you differentiate a brand. Okay. So this might be skipping ahead a stage or so, but something that you do with Meowingtons that I absolutely love is Milton the cat. I don't know if you touched on that, but Milton the cat is one of the most, if not the most downloaded character, a GIF on Instagram, correct? So 2.2 billion downloads. And now you've taken Milton and you've made him into a daily cartoon. So Meowington and Milton are brought together to build up your brand, which is incredible. Like, with millions of followers, by the way, too. Like, you've got 1 million+ followers just because of that.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about scaling your e-commerce company, your brand. And it's interesting because there are so many different ways of doing that. And what you brought up there with Meowingtons is the way that we've decided to go forward with that particular model was to build a community. And we have 2 full-time people. We have very few employees in the company. It might be 6, 7, 8 employees in Meowingtons, but 2 full-time people dedicated to building up content. Now, when I say content, I mean we really build content. We do a daily comic strip, And by the way, if you haven't checked it out, it's funny. You can go to miltonthecat.club and actually join the daily comic, and it will download to your email every single day. And we've begun to put insert ads that promote our products. So you can begin to see how tying the content to the e-commerce sales can be connected. We've also do regular articles per week. You can go on the website, you can see the blog. More often than not, they're top 10% Shopify blogs. We get a notification that they've been well received by the Shopify community. It's important to build content, but I think it's actually one of the hardest strategies because it takes the longest time. Sometimes if you could take you years before you really build up the customer base that you can then go out and seek products or design products for, and then bring them to that customer base. And that takes a lot of time and investment. And that's the path that Meowingtons took, all about content and then monetizing that content.
So it's a long-term play.
So it's very much a long-term play, very much a community. And there's even a little bit of resistance sometimes within the staff to over-commercialize the community. And I understand that. So it's a balance between the two. I think on Facebook, we do about 3 posts a day. 2 of them will be about content, and 1 of them will be about call to action on one of the products that we're offering. And also when we do those blogs as well, more often than not, we'll try to weave in some of our products. It'll be the top 10 cat beds, or the top 10 reasons why cats don't like fireworks, or whatever it is. I'm not a cat person. I admit that. So I wouldn't be qualified to write the blogs, but our teams are definitely qualified for that.
All right. Okay. So again, I cut out for about 5 minutes or so, went in the fetal position, came back. You and Kelsey were handling it fine. I don't know what you started to talk with. So you were talking about logo when I so rudely interrupted you. What next, Colin, to build and scale?
Yeah, look, I think that I think we should talk about the different models of scaling here.
Okay.
And I think that with respect to a lot of your listeners and viewers, they are primarily focused on Amazon sales. Am I correct?
Yeah, probably for the majority, Amazon sales and Shopify. Right.
So I want to talk to you a little bit about going beyond that. Because if you're talking about scaling your e-commerce business, there are really 2 ways to do it, right? Add more products or add more distribution. Okay. I won't focus much on the product side right now, but I will talk about the distribution side.
All right.
And I will talk a little bit about paw.com. Paw.com started out under a different brand name, Treat a Dog. And we felt it was very important to come up with a name that was simple and memorable, that could have a higher conversion rate when people saw the ads. And we were able to acquire the domain name paw.com. I think domain names, by the way, are absolutely a very big component or part of your branding of your e-commerce business. But I don't want to go there right now. I really want to talk about the different methods or ways that e-commerce businesses can expand. So with respect to give to give some Amazon resellers hope here, paw.com, 90% of our sales, and I mentioned earlier when you were off that we're targeting $50 million in revenue this year. 90% of our sales comes from a direct Shopify site. Okay. And it has a lot of advantages. It has the advantages in that you can capture information. We can capture an email address. Just last week, we began to capture profiles, the actual customers and their dog breed. And now we're getting more and more information about our customer. We're truly building up data so that we can monetize that data down the road. Now, Amazon, as you know, and there might be some tools to get around this, but for the most part, and correct me if I'm wrong, Norm, Amazon is very much all about controlling their own data. They're not comfortable with you, reaching out to those customers and cross-selling alternate products. And I will even go as far as to say this: we are now looking to acquire e-commerce businesses in the pet space. And if you are in the pet space, we'd be happy to talk to you. Amazon only or not. But I will say this, is that we will pay a premium as a company to buy a company that has an email list, that has a customer base, that has profiles. And the reason is that we can simply cross-sell our pet products to their customers, as we would also take their customers and cross-sell them our product. Oh, so I just said that, but the reverse as well. So we take our customer base and we would sell them the product that we acquired as well. So you can do it both ways. There's more value if you control your customer and the information about your customer. And I truly believe that there's been a paradigm shift here in a couple of ways. One, Shopify itself as a company, and I have no share, I don't even have shares in Shopify, but Shopify as I know I should have. Shopify as a company has made it so easy for you to set up your own e-commerce business. There's almost no reason why you shouldn't do it. You should just set it up even to get it started. And you can even test out products. You can build up, even if it's 100 buyers, 1,000 buyers, it doesn't matter. It's time to start. Relying 100% on Amazon, I think, is a flawed strategy. And it fascinates me. It fascinates me because I see so many successful Amazon resellers. And then I turn around and I see so many Shopify successes as well. But what if you could just combine the two? Run your own site directly, and then also do the Amazon distribution. I'm not saying not to do it. In fact, early on, paw.com did not even do Amazon. And then we began to add Amazon. And then we began to add a number of products in Amazon. And we continue to expand very quickly on Amazon as well. I'm not saying it's not part of the equation. It absolutely is. But if you're building long-term wealth, a long-term brand, use Amazon to support that strategy. I call it the Trojan horse. And I don't want to get into anyone into trouble here, Norm, so you have to correct me if we start going into some things that violates Amazon's terms of service, okay?
All right, I'll just censor you.
For instance, we've not had an issue with this. All of our boxes ship, because they're bigger boxes, dog beds and whatnot. And our boxes ship with our paw.com logo on the box, okay? When you open the box, there's a flyer that comes out that shows you other products that you can get from paw.com. So in some ways, we're using the distributors, and I'm not just going to stop at Amazon. I'll talk about others like Wayfair and Walmart, and there's other distributors as well. But we're using them almost like a Trojan horse. You need these distributors. You don't get as much money by selling through these distributors, but what you do get from them is the ability to cross-promote your products and potentially get them to your site down the road. Now, talk to me about this. Are we okay with Amazon, or are we going to find, how far can you go with that strategy that I talked about?
You're absolutely 100% white hat, no problem. And it's really funny, Colin, because we've had people come onto the podcast and say, do not do anything other than Amazon because it's such a big search engine. And I know, Pa, I know it very well. And your sales, like you said, 90% are not on Amazon. They're in all these other markets. And it just, it breaks the mold from what we hear from a lot of people that come on this podcast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think the potential for a market valuation, and I don't have numbers in front of me now, but if you were to look at the market valuation of a company that has direct relationships with its customers, so let's just say both were at $50 million, and one was a $50 million reseller of Amazon, and one was a $50 million, separate brand. I can tell you it's gonna trade at a higher multiple. And so you're building more long-term wealth. When you make a sale, even if you break even on that sale, then you've actually still built wealth in that brand, because they show that product off. Somebody sees your product, they see the logo on the dog bed. And by the way, that's something we do as well. We do put our on the dog beds, we'll put the logo on the front, but on the dog rugs that we produce. And we were the company that pioneered designer dog beds or dog rugs. And on those, we have a tab that says paw.com on them as well. So we're always finding ways to weave the branding into the product. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with all of that, but it's key from a multiple perspective to build your own customer base, and down the road when you're selling it, the buyer will appreciate that and pay you more money.
I've talked to a lot of sellers, and they find it hard, intimidating to go on to a different platform. Let's say Shopify. They're not an expert in Facebook ads. They're not an expert in marketing to the outside world, outside of Amazon. So again, going back to your company, you've hired experts to drive sales from Facebook. You know, these are people that know how to do it. I mean, well, I don't have to name them, but you know, out of your team, you saw that there was potential. You invested not only in your domain, in your brand, you marketed it properly, and then you hired experts to do the marketing for you, to build the brand. Correct?
Yeah, exactly. And so when we talk about 90% or 95% of our business comes from our direct Shopify site, we're going to break that into two areas. One are the number of customers who return to that site because they've bought products from us before, or they're on our email address. And about 27% of that is related to traffic generated from customers who've been on our site before or are in our email list. And so where do we get the rest of the traffic from? We've had a lot of success with Facebook and Instagram. And especially a couple of years ago, it's been getting a lot harder. I have to say the cost of acquisition seems to be rising. It seems to be very challenging. We do most of Facebook, Instagram in-house. That's been a core expertise of ours. However, we do hire agencies to help us with the ads, and we're always testing. And I will say this about the testing. It is about creative. It's about call to action, but it's also about analytics. And we're very good at putting up ads, taking them down, putting up ads, taking them down. I don't do this directly, but I know the people who operate and do this kind of stuff. And it's amazing what they do. We've also gone into Google, and we hired a company out west in LA, and they do all of our Google AdWords. And there was a bit of a game changer about a year and a half ago when Google came out with the visual, the Google visual ads. So now when you type in dog bed or dog rug on Google, you can clearly see our products right up front. You see the visual ads, and we've gotten great exposure from that. We also do Pinterest, where again you're getting into the visual. So if you have products that are very visually stimulating or interesting, or really connect with people, I think the Google ads, the visual ads, the Pinterest, the Facebook, Instagram marketing, I think it works very well. We haven't tested products that may not, it's easy to sell dog products when you've got pets on the screen and cats and dogs running around. Obviously people love that kind of stuff. So we've had a lot of success with that. I don't know what would work with every model out there, but I will also say we are looking at adding other areas, including Nextdoor, which is a sort of a localized network, and even television. We've begun discussions with a firm to help us launch in television. And that would be a big step for us and a little bit scary, and it almost seems like we're going back in time. But given the fact that our product is so mainstream, we think we could do well with television. And that could help us move the company to the next level as well. But I'll have to get back to you on that one. We'll have to come back in about 6 months and really talk to you about how that experiment went. I will say every time we add a new channel, you lose money probably in the first week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, because what you're doing is you're figuring out which ads work, which ads don't. And then you're also figuring out which products will sell through those channels as well. Some products on paw.com, we don't even advertise. They might be a $10 spray. Just can't afford to spend $20 in marketing on Facebook for a $10 spray. But they sell well as a value add. or they sell well when people go on Google and they see, oh, there's a deodorizing organic spray. It's from paw.com. Oh, that looks good. So they might buy it that way. So there's just different ways that we do it. When you're doing direct, bringing in experts for Google and Facebook and Instagram and Nextdoor, or maybe even like the Yahoo paid story ads. There are, if you go to Yahoo, you'll notice them right away. They say sponsored. All of these different methods, they work for the most part, depending on the type of product you're selling and your approach to the market. The key is really understanding each of them and bringing experts in so that you could do very well at them. And the last thing I'll say, Norm, about this topic is that I find it fascinating because I've met e-commerce companies that are Amazon only. I've met an e-commerce company who was making millions of dollars a year that was just running on HSN, Home Shopping Network, and they're generating millions of dollars a year. It's insane. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you go on Amazon? Why wouldn't you go on Facebook? Why wouldn't you have your own, Shopify store and advertise on Pinterest? Why wouldn't you do Google ads? I think if you can combine the more of those advertising channels, along with expanding your distribution channels, if your product is unique and different, you can get expanded distribution channels as well. I think if you can combine that, you can take a company that maybe is 5 million and move it to 50 million. It's really all about distribution, advertising, cost of acquisition per ad, obviously, and then expanding your product line.
Okay, before we get to the next question, just a reminder, we do have a giveaway today. It's going to be a Lunch with Norm mug with M&Ms going out to anybody in North America that would like one. Come on, make sure that you take a picture and tag us for that. And then we have also, and that's Wheel of Kelsey, by the way, tag us with 2 people and that you get an extra ballot. Melissa Simonson also gave us 5 tickets today to give away for the Empowering Women's Conference. So just let Kelsey know about that. If you're interested, you'll save a few $100. Okay, Colin, the other thing that I wanted to, more of a comment, you go out there, there's lots of brand awareness. You're not afraid to spend money on brand awareness. And one of the things that I really like is your perceived value. You're not going out as a bottom dweller. You're not going out fighting for pennies. Your products that you bring to market are high value. So if we're talking about, let's say, a pup rug, there's tons of competition that you see on Amazon at $24. You're going out there at $150, sometimes even higher, and you're not afraid of that. You've got the perceived value not only around the brand, but around the product listings, everything that you do. So I like to talk about that, perceived value and pricing.
Yeah, the first thing I think that makes it unique is that we invented the category at paw.com. Okay, I mean, to be quite clear, these products never existed 2 years ago. We brought them to market. Yet this idea that you confuse design and comfort for your dog is something that was pretty unique. And it sounds surprising. Like all dog beds pretty much look standard, the little things. And then all of a sudden we came out with this idea of a rug, and it looked like a sheepskin. But it wasn't it was a faux sheepskin with a memory foam underneath for the comfort of your dog. And my dog at that time, Peanut, bless his soul, was aging, and he was around 10 years old, and he had a hip surgery and arthritis, and he loved the bed. He just loved it. He would lie on it. He just so comfortable for him. I truly believe it brought my dog a lot of pleasure, but it also looked like a decorative piece in our home. So I think that the first lesson here is unique and different. And I do mean different, like not just, you can obviously add a little here and add a little there, but actually creating something that's totally unique and different, and then expanding that into multiple different areas. We went into a faux cowhide. It's these things, and these things, some of them are huge. They're just like,
yeah,
they're huge. They're like 6 feet square, whatever. They're like huge for like 2 Dalmatians could fit on some of these things. And no one, you walk into a pet store and you look at their options for pet beds. Come on, there's no competition there. When you go to our site and you look at, wow, these beds are really good. Now, what we did do is we were able to patent a number of the designs before we even launched them. So we're big on trying to patent, trying to protect as best we can with the products that we have. We're seeing a few competitors trying to come out with copies. We've got some, notices going out. We've got some issues there. We're trying to defend that. But for the most part, they are unique designs of ours, and I'm proud to say that they resonate very well in the marketplace. I think that's the key. We talked about all those channels earlier, the distribution and then all the Facebook, Instagram, but there's been no better sales than having a great product that goes to market and having people see that product and then recommend that product to their friend or take a picture of that product and put it on Instagram or Facebook. That word of mouth element today is bigger than ever in history, because we're now talking about a time when you have a product or idea and you can refer it to a friend and it can go viral, or it can go on Facebook. It used to be 25 years ago, you might talk to a friend of 10 people. Now you post it and it could go to thousands of people. Each customer can generate so many more leads for you as well. So that's just something to consider, when you're building your products, your ideas, is don't be afraid to spend and invest money in that core product. Word of mouth, if anything, word of mouth is probably your top thing. We have designed some of the top designer cat beds on Meowingtons. They're incredible. Yesterday, I was in the pet store and I'm looking at the old carpeted cat beds. I'm thinking, geez, they don't get it. Now our job at Meowingtons is to scale that, add distribution, add more sales points. But the fact of the matter is we design these very unique cat trees. They say cat beds, cat trees. Anyway, cat trees. So make them great, invest in your products, and make certain that word of mouth happens. And we do encourage people to give us word of mouth. Connie, what do you think of our dog beds?
Connie, what do you think of the dog beds?
Oh, I think they're wonderful. Yes, Dallas approved.
Say Dallas is Dallas?
Dallas is Dallas is our dog.
Dallas is your dog, and he approves. All right, that's great. Well, it would have been horrible if she'd said, well, actually.
They kind of suck.
Exactly.
All right, so where was I going with this? So we were talking about the dog beds, the pricing, the comfort. Now you're looking at cat beds over and seeing that, your product is just second to none when it comes to that. So product innovation around the brand. Afalabi, Afalabi.
Yeah. I saw him talking on your eCom weekly show on Clubhouse.
Oh, okay.
You do them every Thursday at 1:00, right?
That's
Eastern?
right. Actually, Colin's a serial entrepreneur. And when you hear that, you kind of go, serial entrepreneur. This guy's nuts when it comes to companies. He has the largest clubhouse club, 600,000 members. Is that correct?
That's correct. Startup.club.
And Startup.club. And I am fortunate enough to be part of it. I have a room on Thursday at 1:00. So anyways, we get to have great guests on and just learn a ton about business. But anyways, going back to the product innovation, Afalabi is saying that if you're doing anything right now regarding a brand, it can't just be a white label brand. It's got to be something different into the marketplace. If you want to get brand recognition, if you want to get that pricing and perceived value, you have to do something differently. And that's exactly what Pod does, very differently. One other thing I want to state is there's a lot of people, I see a lot of comments here from very successful Amazon sellers that have to cross the chasm. We talk about that a lot. How do you get over that hump? How do you scale to go from, I got a $5,000 a month to $1 million a month brand, and it happens in months? And I'm not saying that Amazon's a get rich quick scheme, but you can have a bunt, first base, second base, third base, or a home run, and it does happen. So how do you get over that hump of craziness?
Well, it's interesting because I know that when we had launched PAW, we were only on Shopify and we were not on Amazon, and we had to get over that hump. And we were, some of the things we were saying was, well, if we go on Amazon, Amazon's going to duplicate us, or it's going to get out there. And we recognize the importance of Amazon because I call it the king of the hill strategy. Who's ever the best and has the most reviews on Amazon, they're going to be king of the hill and get the top search results. And if we're not there, then somebody else is going to duplicate it and do that. And I understand why it's important to be on Amazon. But going back the other way, from Amazon to your own Shopify site and building out your community, it's too important not to. We talked about it earlier, how important it is to build a relationship with your customers. And I will say this too. It's never been easier in history to launch your own branded website because people are now getting used to that. Amazon did popularize the idea of actually doing e-commerce online, of actually putting your credit card in. And we trusted Amazon because of the credit card. But now users have become more sophisticated and recognize that we can put our credit card into a brand like Mott & Bow, and that's the company I use for my jeans, or Gravity Defier for my shoes. I have a bad back, so I need really good shoes. And literally, I buy my shoes from one company. I buy my pants from one company. We bought our knives from Misen, Misen. And it's okay to buy direct. And you know what? Customers love having more of a relationship with the manufacturer and designer, and in receiving emails and understanding updates. And by the way, getting better deals because they're not giving 30%. When paw.com does a sale and we send out an email for Black Friday, those prices are insane. And we're not giving 30% to Amazon. We're taking it all 100%. So we can actually give a lower price on those products we send out. Now, we don't have all our products on Amazon. So more often than not, you can get the same price on Amazon as our website. But sometimes we'll come out with other products and we can give very good discounted prices on those because we have that direct relationship. So I'm talking to you all about the reward, but I haven't talked to you about how do we actually make that hurdle or make that jump. And the good thing is that, and I just thought of this right now, is that Amazon has FBA. So you don't necessarily need to have your own logistics network. You can actually start this and run it with using their logistics network. Correct me if I'm wrong, Norm, but I think that's how it works with FBA.
That's correct.
That's correct. So the next question, and I don't think this is that challenging, is some of your top products, especially if you own those products and you have a strength around those products, can they sell in a push advertising environment, in a market where you can put them on, let's say, television, or you put them on Facebook? And Facebook's nice because you can play around with it without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Television, you sort of have to have a proven concept. But with Facebook, you can put it online, and for probably a few $1,000s, you can begin to see a result. Now, again, you need to spend a little bit of money to understand which ads work the best, which products work the best, and then you cut the ones that don't work and get your ROAS to 3 to 4 times, right? So that's where you really want. We look at it really, if we can get 25% ad spend, and if you got enough margin in there to leave 10% at the bottom line, right? 25 to 30%. It depends on the product. Mm-hmm. It really does, and the shipping costs and the container costs. You were saying the containers now are $20,000 a container. That's absolutely insane. That's going to destroy the economics of a lot of e-commerce businesses. But testing's fairly inexpensive. Testing with Google's fairly inexpensive, especially if you can get into the visual ads if your products are appealing to the eye. I don't think it costs a lot. Setting up the store, setting up the I think we use MailChimp or one of those. I know we use it. What's it called? For the email product for paw.com. Klaviyo, thank you. So many different products out there, but it isn't expensive to set these things up. MailChimp account to set up is probably $10 a month or something like that. Google AdWords. It's not expensive. It just requires work, learning, listening, going to your eCom weekly show, and when you bring in an expert, maybe you can help some of your Amazon users with focusing on each channel and finding experts from each channel, and then some of them can come on stage and talk about, here's my business. So how would I actually do that? How would I really kill it with Google? SEO.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about SEO, but SEO, which we started on talking about Meowingtons and the content and SEO are related. And I believe, with respect to SEO, that it's better to have a long tail keywords and be on the top page of Google to generate some traffic than try to, sometimes go for those keywords that you might be on page 2 or 3. So, but there's a whole SEO strategy that can help scale your company. And I think this episode, we probably wouldn't give it justice. I know you've talked a lot about it before, but just mentally sitting down for a half hour and writing out what you do for SEO, and then connecting with some of the, you had a speaker on.
Steve Wiedemann.
Thank you, who was really, really good. And we recorded that episode. You can go to Startup.club and go, it's on Startup.club. We did a blog of that episode. And it's the Ecom Weekly episode, and it was all about SEO, and blew my mind away. I've been in this business for 20 years.
He's the king.
He just blew my mind away.
Yeah.
And a lot of these things don't cost money.
No, and
it's just effort.
He teaches a course. I'm not sure if it's at Berkeley or whatever, but for the listeners, and we can put in the code, his course is free, and it goes through everything. And he just said, look, for your listeners, we'll give you the course on how to do proper SEO. And even we've talked about this, Colin. We were at the same conference you were speaking at it. It was really great. You were talking about failures, but there was somebody that came up and talked about meta title and how to simply change meta title, the format of it, to drive traffic, to drive better
title
traffic.
Tags and the meta tags.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Yeah, and with your title tags, and I challenged him on this one as well. Not challenged him. I sort of, these are my theories. I mean, this costs you absolutely nothing to do, but figure out what words you want to own on Google. Put 5 to 6 words on that title tag, and make certain you have it on your website. It's a very simple thing to do, but you'd be surprised at how few companies actually get their title tags right. So it's just something I would consider doing. They can certainly get that right.
It's the simplest thing. And also, I just see that Kelsey put up, it's the academyofsearch.com, and the code is SEO Steve. And it's like, you're not going on a list, I don't think. I don't know. I can't say for sure. But you're getting this course.
But that's okay.
Yeah, but you're getting this course, and he's got so much. If you take a look at his blog on SEO, I don't want to go off on that. He was already on, and just fantastic guy, willing to help. But SEO is very important. Content's very important. Authority is very important. When we build out brands, we like even getting press releases out there and linking them to content and getting as much authority on that page as possible. So what do you think? Like my philosophy is authority equals trust equals sales.
I like that. And I think that we all go through that process ourselves, right? And so what drives that trust and authority? If you're number one on the SEO on Google, that gives you some authority, right? If your logo looks very professional, it gives you some authority. If your website looks professional, it gives you some authority. If you're able to put, patented, that can give you some authority. Mm-hmm. Another thing that we do with our Instagram and some of our other handles is we use hashtag or @PawOriginal. Because we're the original designers of it. And we know there's knockoffs coming, but we're going to say we're at Paw the original. And by the way, even when you have copycats, we're still 3 or 4 versions ahead of them.
Right.
Because we realized, this wasn't quite right. So we'll make this change or that change. So we're always improving the product. And we always seem to be a year or 2 ahead of our competitors when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can't be stuck in V1, right? If you're not moving ahead, you're going to have a ton of competition by coming out. And when V1 launches, you're already on to version 2. It's got to be. Yeah. And when you are able to get the patents like we have on a number of them, we're able to block them from getting distribution as well. So when they try to go to a Wayfair or whatnot, when we see them, we'll send letters to both Wayfair and the manufacturer as well. All right.
So again, the patent helps a lot. It all connects. If you have a good idea and of a product and you want to get it out there, like everything we talked about today, if you think about it, can work. You just have to find the right expert. You just have to connect. You just have to learn how it actually works. And in some cases, it doesn't cost a lot. In other cases, it might start costing money. But the good news is you can get a return on investments instantly on almost any platform, and you can understand exactly what it's going to cost you to scale. And if your only limitation at a certain point is money for inventory and money for advertising, then you're in a very strong position to raise money for your company as well. It gets a lot easier to raise money when you've proven your concept and all you need is cash to fuel the expansion. So that's the other thing I'll say out there. Don't let not having enough money hold you back. This is a pretty good environment to raise money. And if you have ideas, there's many different ways to raise money. Again, that's a whole different episode. But take those ideas and don't let it slow you down if you don't have the money. Raise it and scale it.
Okay, one last thing before we get into a couple questions, because you have to go. User-generated content. You talked about influencers. Probably the easiest way to spread the word, getting the word out there, getting nano-influencers, micro-influencers, people who you might have that on that insert, tag us, and you don't have to give them anything. People just love the product. They're going to tag you, and you can use their content. So it's just another way that you can market yourselves, correct?
Absolutely. And we try to work with smaller influencers at paw.com. We haven't actually experimented with larger influencers. I think you've had Joseph Martin from BoxyCharm on. Yeah. And his company, he just sold it for $500 million or merged it with Ipsy to create $1 billion beauty box company. And he worked with the Kardashians, and his number one model was influencers. And it really worked for him. It's funny you brought that up. Like, of all the methods we talked about earlier, we didn't even talk about influencers, which is so huge. And if you can connect with the right influencers, that can move your business. What we've done is tend to send products to them and not necessarily pay them at this stage. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I think there's probably an opportunity for us to really expand our sales by working closer with influencers, but we just haven't done that personally, other than the fact we do send them product. We probably send out about 200-300, dog beds per year. So it's, it's definitely part of our strategy because, a lot of celebrities have dogs.
Yeah.
They have pets, right? So they all want to show off their pets. They're happy to do so on Instagram.
I'll tell you another area that is great for your brand that I've noticed. Again, I know Paw Brands, paw.com. Dave Gimes has a dog, Marley. And how does he promote? On a podcast. And the podcast is great. Like, you can tune in, you can check. Who doesn't want to talk about their dog? And he does
it every Friday. Marley's Corner, I think it's called.
Yeah, Marley's Corner.
On Instagram. Yeah, every Friday.
Very good.
15 minutes. I mean, how much money does that cost? Right. I know you might only have 10 people when you first start out, and then you get to 20 and 50 and 100, 200. It doesn't cost a lot of money to do those kind of things. And just go try it. Just try it out.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, how much did you lose?
Build your brand.
Build your brand. That's that content strategy, that whole key that, too many companies say, I have a product, I want to sell it, throw it on Amazon, let's just see how it goes. And this, no, let's build a brand here. Let's not just sell products. When MVMT sold for $100 million, they did so, I believe, because that was the watch company. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
MVMT. That they did that because they had built a brand around their watches. And that's a tough space. Come on, man. That's a tough space. It really is. Talking
now,
like Biden. Come on, man.
We're not even going to get a chance to get into this. I mean, I thought this would be 5 minutes into our talk, but I am going to post it because it's so cool. Basically your 5 steps to successful scaling. So we could talk for another hour on this.
4 steps, yeah.
Easily. And so I'm going to post the PDF, and I'm going to have you back on if you'll accept the invitation to talk more about that specifically. Also, I'd like to probably bring you on with a couple of other guests to talk about what was probably one of the most emotional and impactful speeches that I've ever heard at an event was when you were talking about about failure, and how it affected you, how it affected your employees, how you got back on the saddle again and got going. But that's for another day. I think right now let's get Kelsey. Are there any questions? I know Colin has got to go. I see Kim in the background.
Yeah, there are a couple of questions, but obviously we have a time constraint. So I'm thinking maybe we can answer one or two, but then
go staccato.
Do you have time for that?
Go staccato.
Okay, very good.
Right. Okay. So the first one is about websites. Why Shopify, not WordPress? What are the pros and cons?
All right. So if you have a developer, and it's WordPress, it's WooCommerce, right?
Yep.
And honestly, the train's left the station. Shopify's won. Why do you want to fight that? There are so many companies building applications and apps around Shopify. It has become the standard globally. There is a huge negative with Shopify. As your sales grow and become larger and larger, you're now spending thousands and thousands of dollars, where if you had built on WooCommerce, you wouldn't have spent that. It's more of a fixed fee. But you're going to find it's going to be clunky. If you make a mistake, the smallest mistake on your website, your conversion rate drops from 2.1 down to 1.9, and you're spending $100,000 a month on advertising. Your whole model can be taken off kilter. Shopify's figured out usage and human behavior, and they also understand. They understand the developer community that's going into to help propel that. And I think it's done. The only alternative, if you're going to think about, if you don't want to go the Shopify route, is Volusion. I've heard a lot of good things about them. They've done a great job. I know in the past, when the company became large enough, they would build their own platform or maybe go to a Volusion or something else like that. I'm still a proponent of Shopify just because they've standardized so well. I just bought a product on a Shopify site and just asked me for a code. I just typed in the code, no credit card, nothing. So they've even got standards like that, and they continue to innovate. Yeah, you're going to pay ultimately for Shopify, but it's really the standard, and you're fighting it. When you're trying to fight the standard, you just can't do it.
Right. All right.
From Simon, as a range 5 to 10 or 10 to 15 and so on, what % of sales should the cost of acquisition be? Does this shift as the product lifecycle matures, and does it shift seasonally?
All right, so your cost of acquisition really depends on your product, right? Let's be quite frank. What's your margins on your product? So if your margins are very high, you can afford a high cost of acquisition. In our e-commerce, we look at about 10% net. And now with these $20,000 containers, I don't know how that's going to factor into it. But the fact of the matter is, we're looking at about a 10% net on the bottom line. So but I think we spend about 30% to acquire a customer, and then we have that same customer will buy other products and will come back to our website as well. So our lifetime value of our customer is well north of $400, right? And yet our cost of acquisition for that customer might be about $50, right? So it really depends on what you're selling there. And I will add one more thing, because I'm also involved in a glasses company, Glasses Hip Optical. They are the edgier, sort of younger version of Warby Parker. Are those Hip Optical? You got to be kidding me. They will be. I was going to say, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
I'm hip. What are you saying?
It's the edgier version of Warby Parker, and with their costs, they're willing to spend more money on a cost of acquisition because they have a repeatable business. People get a pair of glasses, and then they want another pair of glasses down a year later. So they have very much a repeatable business. So if you have repeatables, if you have subscriptions, you're willing to spend a lot more money on those. If you're dealing with, one products, you're willing to spend less. So it really depends on the product.
Great. Kels, let's get into Wheel of Kelsey. This is, I think,
yep. Why don't we say goodbye to Colin now? Like we can wrap it up, and then we can put up the Wheel of Kelsey when Colin leaves. Like
Perfect.
we can.
He's always thinking. He's always thinking. Okay. Colin, thank you so much for being on. I know that you guys are in a hotel room wanting to get across the border. Wave to me when you go past the house on the 400, okay?
Oh, there's Kim. Do you see Kim?
I see Kim. Yep.
Come way by, Kim.
There we go.
There she is.
Hi, Kim.
Way by now. All right. I love being on. I love talking about this topic. I love helping other startups and entrepreneurs. If you're around on Clubhouse at Startup.club, check out the website, get on our mailing list. We're here to help. Thank
Fantastic. You're awesome, Colin.
Thank you so much, Colin.
We'll see you later. Okay.
Oh, right. We did have one or two questions that I think you can probably answer before we wrap up.
Yeah. Okay.
From Tony, do you use terms like best reviews, etc., in URL for SEO optimization?
I can't really speak for Colin. I think he's using, like, I know that Steve, he was saying that be careful when you're using the words best top, because there have been lawsuits started because you have to defend whether you're the best or not. So he was talking about that on our Clubhouse. So yeah, be careful with what you're doing. There are so many incredible long-term keywords for so many products. I'd stick to those. I can't answer for Colin though.
Okay, and we got one from, I think this is from Jahanzib. Best resource to learn digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketer. I love that. Yeah, digital marketer is, for me, probably the best resource. And what you can do is you can get into digital labs, you can get into digital certification. Kelsey, we have a membership at Digital Marketer, which allows us to have our VAs go on and learn digital marketing and get certified.
Yeah, it's a great resource. I've definitely used it before, and that's paid, but they also have like great blogs. Maya Hewley, who's been on the podcast before, she is actually in charge of those blogs and puts out the content. So definitely check it out. It's digitalmarketer.com. But yeah, I think so. So let me see. I think that's it for questions. Rad was asking about the company for Google marketing. I think, is that AdSense that you guys were talking about?
What's that?
It's okay.
So we can reach out to Colin and find out what it is. I can tell you, Rad, it's probably not the cheapest company. There probably be other Google marketing companies that we could provide you names with that are for smaller companies. He's got a fairly big budget, and he's probably going with a larger firm.
Okay. All right, so that's it for questions. I'm just adding the last name to Wheel of Kelsey. And actually, the audience has called it Wheel of Norm today because you had to leave.
Oh, okay.
So it's the Wheel of Norm today. So here we go. We should have changed the picture.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, this is the Wheel of Norm. This is for an official Lunch with Norm mug and M&Ms. So I believe I got everyone. Hopefully, I didn't miss anyone.
But there's one thing that has to happen. When you get it, we need you to tag us with the mug, just like Andrew did on in his plane the other day. That was fantastic. I don't know if you saw it, but he had the mug on his cockpit.
Yeah. So here we go. I'll spin.
All right, who got it? Brian
M.
Fantastic.
All right, congratulations. I think Brian is actually part of our Patreon group too, so that's great.
He's going to get a coffee set. There we go.
Yeah, he's going to be set.
Oh,
thank you so much.
What? I got to say this. We didn't. I should have mentioned it when Colin was on, but Colin's also a sponsor of the show now. So that's great.
Yep. So we'll be adding that into everything starting Friday, I believe.
Yes.
But yeah, we're starting to send out these mugs, and it would be really great if you tag us in it, or even if you take a picture of you guys watching. My mug is flying to Brazil. Yeah. The England game is today too, so everyone is cheering for it.
Is that hockey? If it's not hockey, it's not that important.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. We had some very kind words from Marcia. So thank you, Marcia. It's always a pleasure. We enjoy helping out as much as we can, and it's great to hear that Neer and Shane have been able to help you out with your business and getting you back on. So it's great to see our community come together, and it's real pleasure meeting everyone and seeing everyone. And hopefully Norm is going to be able to meet you guys. Also, we have 2 tickets left for the Empowery that we're giving out today. So 3 of them have been taken. You just need to email k@lunchwithnorm.com. It's the first come, first serve. First come, first serve. Yeah.
You kind of get it right.
You'll get free tickets.
All right.
Okay.
So talking about some of the things that Colin talked about, cash flow, getting, finding people to invest in your company. We've got an expert in that, Chris Schifferling, who's going to be with us on Friday. I'm going to be seeing him at the Prosper Show, but he is our sponsor, Global Wired Advisors. What a guy. Wait till you hear him talk about this. So we're going to be hitting on Amazon business buying trends in 2021, 2022. So it'll be a real interesting podcast for us to talk to you about. And on that note, just a thank you to Chris and his team over at Global Wired Advisors, a leading digital investment bank focused on optimizing the business sales process. For more information, please visit globalwireadvisors.com. All right, Kelsey, anything else?
Smash the like button if you haven't already. Also, Friday, I am taking my one and only vacation day, and my brother Hayden will be replacing me for the day. So please, everyone, show up, give him some support. It'll be the Wheel of Hayden, probably. I think we're giving out another mug that day as well. So
yeah, and give him a tough time too. We don't want to
really rough him up.
Rough him up. Okay. That being said, join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. And everybody, as usual, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the community, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Lunch with